764 is associated with the dangerous online network that targets vulnerable children and young people using social media, gaming platforms, messaging apps, and other online spaces to manipulate, exploit, and harm them. It is a difficult subject, but one we cannot afford to ignore because sometimes the greatest dangers facing our children aren't outside our front doors. They're behind the screens. Today is about education, prevention, resources, and protecting our children. And we have brought together four important voices, perspectives, and for this conversation. Our co-host today and platform speaker is Michelle Van Etten. Hello, Michelle. Miss North
Hi.
as Miss North American Ambassador for Living Royal. As a mother of two young children, and actually they're adult children now, Michelle brings both of her parents' heart and a real world perspective. Her passion for family leadership, empowering others, led her to raise this important topic and help bring today's heart and soul to our virtual stop to life. And and I can't see both screens, so hold on, ladies. Hello, your beautiful faces. Look at you. And just so you all know, Linda's right. Doing Zooms and all this stuff is interesting. We'll go straight to leading today's conversation is our host and keynote speaker, and that is Linda Berg-Herring, our Miss Ambassador for Children's Safety, a longtime investigator and advocate for child safety and education. Linda is dedicated to helping families recognize and respond to those dangers facing children today. Through awareness, prevention, and practical resources, she works up and equips parents and communities to better protect children both online and offline. Today, these voices, and I'm going to say that, whoever wants to join, I'm going to pass it over to Linda in a second. Just know that we've come together today because 764 behind the screens is a conversation every parent and every grandparent and community needs to hear. But before we begin and before I hand it over to Linda, I would like to invite Kate to come. She is our Miss U.S. Ambassador for Living Royal and open us up in prayer this morning or this afternoon. Kate, would you mind?
Father, thank you for bringing us together, Lord. We pray that your truth would come out. You'd give us wisdom and guidance and a knowledge of what we should do about this situation, Lord. And thank you for raising up Linda to fight the evil in the world against our children, Father, and Michelle as well. And we are just blessed and honored, Lord, to be here today. Speak to our hearts and reveal the truth to us and help us to protect those who are vulnerable. In Jesus' name. Jesus.
Again, thank you. Thank you so much for joining us again. This is Behind the Screens, the Heart and Soul Tour of a virtual stop. And I am going to hand it over to the beautiful Linda Berg-Herring, Ambassador for Children's Safety. Linda, the screen is yours.
Okay, the screen is mine, but technically I cannot share. So I did a little tiny PowerPoint, it doesn't matter. But before I start, just a little bit for anyone that doesn't know, all these people in the room do, but I've been a private investigator for 44 and a half years. A couple weeks after I started working as a private investigator, I worked a missing child case. It was a 10-year-old little girl. She was kidnapped by her uncle, who brutally raped her multiple times over a 72-hour time period, and then he sold her to his friends for sex. So he trafficked her. They didn't call it trafficking then. I've been talking about that case forever, and up until maybe about 5 years ago, anytime I said trafficking, people acted like I was nuts, that I was just making this stuff up or it didn't happen here. Well, like that, as if that is not bad enough. Now, as of just a few years ago, there was a new group that started and has expanded to exploit children. And most of it's online. I often say when I'm doing presentations, the most dangerous place for a child to be is online. That white panel van people talk about that's going to grab you and traffic you, no, that's the internet. The internet has replaced it. So 764, which is the main topic today, is a network of nihilistic, violent extremists who engage in sextortion and sadistic exploitation of minors. They are monsters, 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 monsters. So 764 was created by a 15-year-old boy in Texas, specifically Stephenville, Texas. 764 is the first three digits of his zip code. So that's where he came up with the name. He created it in 2021. So during COVID, he was home alone and bored. And he didn't last very long. He was on Discord. His username was Felix. And Discord actually did a good thing, and they kept shutting him down. They shut him down multiple times. They finally turned him in. He was arrested in August of 2021. It was only a few months after he started. He claimed that someone that he met on Minecraft helped him create 764, but has never identified who that person was. And he, on May 16th, 2023, he was convicted of mostly child pornography violations and was sentenced to 80 years in prison. So this little boy is going to spend the rest of his life in prison. So that doesn't mean it's over, though. In April 2025, there were two other leaders of 764 who were arrested. 20-year-old Prasan Nepal was arrested in North Carolina, and 21-year-old Leonidas Verigiannis was arrested in Greece. They conspired or, worked together to write the sextortion manual, which is something that has been put out. It's been out for a while. It was out before they were calling 764 764. It was on Yahoo before that and on TikTok. But anyway, they wrote this to teach people how to sextort and how to bring in kids to 764. Now, when these guys were arrested, according to the FBI and Department of Homeland Security, 764 was virtually disbanded or essentially disbanded. But, a bunch of subgroups have been created since then, and there's a ton of them. There's new ones every day. Some of them are 676, Cult, but it's spelled CVLT, 7667, 555, Leak Society, Court, Casker, Harm Nation, Hell, which is spelled H3LL, and Slit Bunnies. And then, like I said, there's more every day. I research this stuff every single day. 764, when it was created, adopted the tactics of Cult, which was a previous sextortion group, and they expanded the exploitation to include abuse such as animal cruelty and self-harm. There's also connections to pedophilia. They are heavily influenced by neo-Nazis. They actually have convinced, they'll get a little girl online to, carve the number 764 across her chest live, like live streaming it in their server, their little chat room. It's most active on Discord and Telegram. The exploitation starts as sextortion almost every single time, and then it escalates to self-harm, animal torture, attacking siblings, suicide, and even mass shootings. So there have been a couple of mass shootings that the people that committed those said 764 encouraged them to do it. It targets 9 to 17-year-olds predominantly, preferably minors who are from marginalized backgrounds or have mental health issues. So, your child's cyber friends are not always their friends. So that's just a little super brief background on this horrific thing. Michelle, so I'm just going to ask you a couple things and then we'll continue on, okay? So when and how did you first learn about this?
So I started looking into human trafficking a while back, right? And that kind of took me down some massive rabbit holes. And when you start going down these rabbit holes, you realize that, well, if you even look at MK Ultra, there's programming that's going on, right? So if you go back that far, some people think that's crazy too, that didn't exist, but it did. And what they realized is that when you're younger, you're easier, you're more pliable to be able to groom, right? So just like with human trafficking, they're grooming them from behind the screen. And I started seeing, even with my own son, he was being groomed behind the screen and I had to stop it. I was like, no, no, no. So it's been going on for a very long time that it just wasn't talked about, right? When I started talking about human trafficking, my husband's like, nobody's doing that here. And then like a year later, right? It's everywhere. It's in every city, every town, every neighborhood. Well, this is even worse because that's out in the open in those areas in a sense, right? That's actually a location. But
Mhm.
since we have the internet, it's behind the screen. It's in their games. You said Minecraft. How many young little kids are playing Minecraft? And what's the other one? Roblox?
Roblox and Minecraft are just when I see a child of someone I know that gets a gift card for Minecraft or Roblox, I just shudder. And I'm like,
Right,
no,
because
no,
you
no, get
know.
these kids off that. Yeah.
So here's the thing. We posted about this and talked about it and talked about it. And no one wants to hear the
Right.
conversation, which is blowing my mind. So I'm going to ask you a question because
Sure.
I'm going to reverse
Yeah,
this for a minute.
sure.
When we were talking, you were discussing that people you knew, their children, they never thought, and then they were in that situation.
Hmm. Yeah,
They knew you,
they knew me. They know me. They know what I do. They know I talk about these things.
but they
And
didn't hear you.
they did well, they had one of the three had come to a presentation. That same one had read my book. The
Okay,
other two, no clue. And
no
they
clue.
know me. There's someone
And
that's
they
in,
know what you
there are
do.
networking groups I'm in where I talk about this every single week.
Yeah,
The
can I,
networking
So,
group.
can
what do
I
you think? What was that?
Can I interject for a second? Could let me because this is kind of, you know, I don't know what Minecraft is, and I don't know what that other thing is. So, as a grandparent or an aunt or an uncle, that doesn't trigger me like it triggers you, Linda. And so maybe we don't, it's not that we're not hearing, we don't understand what it means. So, what is Minecraft?
Minecraft is an online gaming platform. So is Roblox. This is where parents and grandparents need to learn about this stuff. When you've been there when I've done presentations, Maria, you've gone with me, and I talk about these apps and these platforms. And when I've done my really long workshops, I talk about them in detail. People have to learn them. It's a requirement. None of this stuff existed when we were kids, so it's a whole new learning curve. But yeah, if
Mhm.
you're around kids, you need to learn what these things are.
Minecraft, isn't that the little game where they build the
Yeah,
houses?
they build little buildings and little houses and little people, and
So
yeah,
yeah, they build little people and little houses, and
it
it
looks
all sounds
innocent.
perfect. It
Hmm.
looks innocent on the outside, but whoever that 13-year-old is, or supposedly 13-year-old that they have the little picture of on the other side becomes like their best little cyber friend, and that's when the grooming begins because that's probably a 28-year-old.
At
So why
least,
I
yeah.
go back to why I keep going back to human trafficking is because when I started looking into that, I started looking at how they start grooming them so young and they start getting
Hmm.
them to do things, and that's that whole sextortion. I don't think everybody knows what that means. So can you tell us what sextortion is?
Sure. Sextortion happens when someone is talking to a new friend online. Most of the time, it's a teenage boy, gets contacted by what appears to be a beautiful teenage girl, typically on Instagram or Telegram. The grams are involved. Um, and they make friends and they start talking. And sometimes it's a matter of minutes before the sextortion happens. Sometimes it's days or weeks or months. But they create a relationship. They start flirting. And, hormones are going crazy in teenagers. The girl will say, finally, I'll send you a picture of me if you send me a picture of you. And if the boy doesn't want to send a picture, the boy will suddenly receive a picture, either of the girl topless or full on nude, and say, okay, I sent you mine. You got to send me yours and make sure we can see your face and the rest of you. And the boy sends the photo, and instantly that beautiful girl that was just so flirty and so awesome turns into this evil person that demands money. I mean, they will point blank say, I'm not who you thought I was. If you don't send me $3,000 right now, I'm going to send this picture to everyone you know. And these people, when they're doing that, before they contact their potential victim, they have already copied their friends and followers lists. They've already checked them out. So they know most of the boys that are victims of sextortion are very, what you might call successful, for lack of a better word. They're top athletes. They're top in their class at school. They're active in their church, in their community. They have a huge circle and a lot to lose. And so these people that do just straight sextortion without continuing on to do the other stuff, they demand money, and they'll finally get to where they'll say, well, you don't have the money, then you might as well just kill yourself because your life is ruined. And these kids are killing themselves. And that's because they don't know what to do. So when I talk to kids, I cannot say enough, obviously. None of this is worth killing yourself over. And I've talked to teenage boys and I go, okay, y'all have a penis, okay? And they all turn red. And I go, y'all have one. You take showers at school, right? People see, it's no big deal. Someone sees a picture of you. It's not the end of the world. I don't recommend ever sending one out. I mean, that's number one, is don't do it. But they do it. And I don't think we're ever going to convince them. Yeah, right. They can AI it. One of the parents that called me was a retired police chief who's a client of mine. And his son, the guy called me at 3 a.m. His son had been talking to a girl, and all of a sudden she sent him a collage. And in the middle was a naked boy from the waist down. And then pictures all around that were of him. And he's like, Dad, I didn't do this. And the dad's like, I'm well aware. It's what he goes, we were kind of teasing, but I know that's not you. You wouldn't do that. So they tried to get money out of that kid too. And he sent them a little bit of money before he went to his dad. And then of course, as soon as if you send them anything, they demand more. And so when he said, I can't send you more, they're like, well, we're going to send this to your girlfriend and to your mom. And he said, okay, I don't care. The kid did, which was great, because
That's
that
awesome.
burst their balloon. They have nowhere to go. And then he went to his dad, and then I guided him through what to do. And, said, you got to report it to law enforcement, which ironically his father did not want to do. I was like, you are the cops. Why would you not want to report this? And he's like, well, we're in a small town. I go, I don't care. I said half of his soccer team, because the kid's a kick-ass soccer player. Half his team also were contacted by that same girl in a 24-hour time period. So I said, It's someone else. It's going to happen to someone else. They need to know. And half of them sent money. So it's like, they need to know that you don't send money and you don't go kill yourself over it. I mean, seriously. So, but the kids need to know this boy was comfortable going to his dad. He was embarrassed, but he went to his dad. The other two that were people that I know, since we veered off into this, the moms called me, and both of them, when they called me, they were crying and they wanted to know what they did wrong. And I said, well, so your child sent a photo, which was not the best decision, but the next thing he did when this person tried to get something out of him was he came to you. So that means you did everything right. He knew that he could go to a parent, or they have to have a trusted adult they can talk to. And so in those situations, I told them the same thing, what to do with it, what to do afterwards, and how to handle it. But that's the number one defense against all of this, is that the kids can talk to their parent or a trusted adult about what's going on. And then the adults, it's their job to learn about this stuff so that you know what to look for.
Yeah, I agree. I was going to ask you this before. Have you, I'm still in shock because we put this out to everybody and they need to know about this. Have you ever seen anything as demonic as what we have with 764 and these other cult gangs? I think that people need to understand exactly what they're doing.
I've seen a couple of things that were worse.
Did you really?
The youngest victim on a trafficking case that I have worked on was 3 months old.
Oh, I remember that case you told me about. Yeah.
So there's always been evil. There's always going to be evil. This is like evil on steroids right now, though. It really is crazy. There's a lawsuit that was just recently filed by a family in Washington. They filed it against Discord because someone that's part of 764, but that was on Discord, convinced their 13-year-old son to commit suicide live online. He did it.
Oh my God.
So they had that much power over this kid. And I always, I am not a parent. I have never given birth to a child. So when I talk to parents, I would say I tried to never, ever, disparage a parent. From what I understand, it's a very difficult job. I get that. I haven't given birth to any, but got about 1,000 of them out there because of what I do. So, they need to pay attention to what these kids are doing. That 13-year-old kid, his mom was like, he was just hanging out in his room a little more than usual. I didn't really think much of it. They need to ask, what's going on? What are you doing? The kid that created 764 dropped out of school. He was bullied as a kid, and his classmates called him an easy target. So he got picked on as a kid, had multiple psychological breakdowns before the age of 15, and told his probation officers he stopped caring about anything. And, when he discovered 764, it's like, oh, it's something to do. And that's where he decided to focus. When he was only 10 years old, he was fascinated by graphic online content depicting murder and torture. The 10-year-olds shouldn't be watching that crap. Pardon my language. They shouldn't be watching that.
There's a break in their brain.
Yeah, it's like you just don't. So to him, torture and stuff was not really that weird. When he was still in school, he got in trouble for drawing pictures of, torture and things like that, and making terrorist threats. And even though he got in trouble at school for doing that, he just kept doing it on his school computer till he finally dropped out of school. Well, there's a little bit of a glitch there somewhere between this kid and his parents. I know you can't control every single thing they do because they can make decisions. They have free will, but seems like something more maybe could have been done for this kid before it got to where literally he's spending his entire life in prison.
I think
And he's
went
probably
to
still doing this stuff too from prison, by the way, because most of them have tablets.
Yep.
So I'm sure he's still doing this same stuff, even though he's in prison.
Well, I would think he's their martyr.
Yeah.
Unfortunately.
Yeah.
I mean, when I started doing my research, I saw so much about the satanic side of it that really just blew me away. I mean, I'm going to give you guys a few details because I think it's necessary for people who watch this later. One of the things they'll do is they'll have them carve their name and use the blood from it to write the number 764 on the wall with a pentagram. They get them to go out like the senseless stabbings that have happened around that nobody's thinking about. A lot of those were by these splinter groups. They teach them how to make Molotov cocktails. So if you're seeing or hearing anything about people throwing those at buildings or people or whatever, it's part of it. I would go so far as to say they're teaching our kids to not have empathy and become sociopaths.
Right. Right. And the kids that get the victims to do these things, what they get out of it is their buddies, their fellow 764ers or whatever group they're in, they praise them for it. It gives them more credit, more street cred, so to speak. It's crazy, but they're out there. It's getting bigger. There are investigations going on in every state in our country right now related to this. To start with, more of the victims were in other countries. The perpetrators were here, which is the reverse of trafficking and sextortion, by the way. So we decided to jump in and jumped in a really sick way, people in the United States. But yeah, there's all kinds of investigations all over the world. But right now, every state in our country has investigations going on into this.
Wow. Something that was started for like 2 months, the guy's in prison, and now it's all over the United States within a matter of 4 years.
It shows how disgusting these people are.
Splinter groups on top of it. So my question then is, what are we doing as a society that is allowing this kind of disregard for human life?
It starts with parents handing a little toddler a tablet. I hate to say.
I'm guilty.
It's like literally, it's like I have a friend who has a 6.5-year-old, and for the first, as soon as he could hold a tablet till about a year ago, he was glued to that tablet. And I was like, you need to take that thing away because it's going to be a problem. We actually have weaned him off it, which is amazing. It was a fight. Now he thinks it's broken. So we're like, oh, it broke. We're not buying you a new one. So, he's young enough to believe that. But they get involved, and then the parents, the adults, whatever, whoever's around them, aren't really paying attention to what they're doing when they're online. So they need to be monitored to a certain extent, not it's kind of like teaching them something that Opal from Million Kids talks about always is there's a self-esteem issue in there. And self-value. They need to, like when I was a teenager, if someone offered me $1 million, I wouldn't have taken my clothes off for a picture. And $1 million was a lot then. That's not as much now. But literally, and these kids, they think it's normal to exchange nude photos. And then they think it's funny to take AI and put one of their classmates' heads on someone else's naked body and act like it's the girl or the boy, whatever. So, and then the parents are like, I don't know why he did it. I didn't know about this stuff. Well, they need to learn about it. My parents knew where I was and what I was doing when I was a kid. And I'm sure a lot of our parents did. So, not that you can control every minute of their day, like I said, and they, do have free will. They're going to go off and do things once in a while. But they can't be raised by a tablet. And that happens a lot, tablets and movies and, all this stuff that's on TV, they've so normalized, well, TV, movies and things, they've normalized sex and violence and all that stuff. It's just, it doesn't mean anything anymore. Most kids, their first sexual experience is actually virtual online, which is kind of heartbreaking for,
Seriously?
Yeah. Yeah. And they think that's normal.
That's so sad.
Yeah, it is sad. They don't know how to develop real relationships with people because they think they have relationships with the bot or whoever they're talking to on the other side.
As a mom who has finally they're out of their teenage years and stuff. But I was a helicopter mom and I still had so much I didn't know. They had ways of, I had to go through and learn about all of the apps that you can hide apps in because it looks like a duck or something and it looks safe and whatnot. And then inside it is all the stuff that you never want to see. Or I didn't know this, but like Instagram has a private folder and nobody's supposed to be able to get into that without a password or unless you have your kid by the hair. No, I'm kidding. But unless you're there right there and asking for that password and making them give it to you, and then you're desperately not wanting to see the photos you see. It's a hard task
It
to
is.
keep kids safe.
Yeah, my view on that for the phones and what's on the devices is that when you loan your device to that child who is not old enough to buy it on their own or sign a contract, it is your device. So when you loan it to them, I suggest that the parents enter into a contract with the kids. And they have to enforce it. They can't just do it and then set it aside. And it's not that doesn't mean they don't trust the kids. They want to make sure the kids are mature enough and have the ability to understand and comprehend what's going on out in the world, which most teenagers have no clue, or preteens. Kids are getting cell phones when they're like 8 years old. It's insane, like smartphones. But that contract, number one on that contract needs to be that they will show you how to use every app that's on that device because it's hard to keep up. I learn about new ones all the time because I have to stay up on it so that when I'm doing a workshop, I'm not talking, I know what I'm talking about. Just be babbling about whatever. That's important. They also have to agree that, once a week or not on the same day, obviously, because kids are evil geniuses and they will take things off and put them back on, but random inspections of the device. And it's super easy to find hidden apps on these devices. You can Google the directions and they work. Super simple. I have an 8-step thing, one for Android and one for iPhones. And it works. I tried it out on my phone and on my husband's phone because we have one of each. And you do that. You don't just do it once and never do it again. which a lot of people do. I've got a friend of mine that's a mom of two teenage girls, and she was so proud of herself because she was looking at their phone. And I go, so when you look at their phone, what do you look at? Well, I just make sure there's nothing unusual on the screen. And I was like, oh, no, 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 no. There's so much more. And if they don't want you to look at it and they don't want you to see what's on your phone, you can take your phone back. Sometimes you have to get that drastic with it. The kid might hate you for a minute, they'll get over it. And that
So I
applies
did
to,
that.
tablets and all those things.
I took my daughter's phone,
Mm-hmm.
and the school contacted me because they no longer have books.
Right. Yeah, schools in this situation, schools are terrible, which, schooling is obviously very important. So learning is very important. But
But
they are allowing the stuff the schools are doing is
yeah,
allowing pedophiles to have more access to children because it's not as they claim it's all secure and they can't talk to anybody. Well, like I said, kids are evil geniuses. When they want to figure out how to do something, they're going to figure out a way to talk to somebody. Just recently, there was a case where a kid was talking to a predator via the refrigerator. Like they have a smart refrigerator with a little screen on it. There's a chat. Kid was chatting with some predator via his refrigerator.
That is some scary
What?
stuff.
Yeah, there's a chat everywhere.
Oh my gosh.
Yeah, everything has a chat. And so it's like, can you imagine you go in the kitchen and your kid's like at the refrigerator, like, what
Oh,
are
that's
you doing?
great.
Nothing.
That's
I actually found out about that refrigerator chat thing because I was sitting there watching TV, and all of a sudden my refrigerator, we no longer, by the way, have that refrigerator. It's in the dump, by the way. But the refrigerator started um just like you could hear the ticking and the clicking, and it was doing something, and you could hear that there was a chat going on and some other things, and I'm like, uh why is my refrigerator doing this? I'm like, so I wake Jim up. I'm like, babe, what is going on? He goes, well,
The
it's hooked up to the
refrigerator.
internet. I'm like, how do I turn it off the internet? And so he had to show me how to turn it off the internet.
Yeah.
And then after that, I was like, that is never going on again. That was so freaky. That is, and then I started looking into, because one spider web leads you from one place to the next, all of the interconnectedness with Echo and all of that. Can you hit on that? Because I don't think people realize that you can be groomed through those devices.
Oh, totally. That's why at my house, there's nothing like that anyone could listen to me on. I'd probably get arrested because they would they'd hear my conversation. They'd send someone here to check me out. But but yeah, all those Alexa and Siri and all of that stuff, listens to you. And there have been, relationships developed between these devices and kids. They'll, a kid, there was a movie on not too long ago where like a man had a relationship with Siri. I don't know if anyone, it was the dumbest movie, but it was something that really can happen. The guy was lonely and bored. Well, kids are bored. Um, and sometimes they're lonely and they'll talk to anybody. So they'll talk to the device. Well, predators know that too. And predators can get into those devices. If it's on the internet anywhere, a predator can get into it and use it to communicate with someone. They will find a way. And yeah, I don't have any of that stuff. I don't have a smart refrigerator. I'm glad my car's not very smart. I just don't. I don't want all of that. There's more things to go wrong with it, and then there's more potential for bad. So yeah, kids, there's chatbots. Kids develop relationships with chatbots. I'm very most people that know me know I'm very anti-AI for the most part, especially with my job. I don't use it at all because I need real things, not fake things. But there's been chatbots that have, taught kids how to commit suicide or to hate their parents. There was one chatbot that there was a recently documented situation where a chatbot was telling a kid how to murder his parents.
Gosh.
And, the parents barely made it out. It was like they got lucky that they got saved the last minute. So all of these things, and, kids should be smarter than this. They should not be falling for all of this stuff. And I don't know how to get around that. But they're so immersed in all of it. A lot of that started with COVID, especially that age range where kids were stuck at home instead of in school, was definitely to their detriment that they were stuck at home all that time during COVID. And the predators, of course, were also stuck at home so that they had more time just to create awful things like 764.
I think it's a generational thing. The kids that are raising kids now that are at this age, it's think of the timing. It's interesting.
I'm
It's
glad I don't have kids. My nieces who have, one of my nieces has an 8-year-old and a 6-year-old. And the 8-year-old has a gizmo
yeah.
watch.
Oh, what's a gizmo?
It's a smartwatch. You can send emails on it. You can get on the internet on it.
Oh,
So I talked to my niece and I said, that is turned off, right? And she said, I don't know how. And I said, well, we're going to do it via Zoom then.
my God.
So I walked her through turning that off. And then, of course, her daughter was all upset. And I said, this is for her protection. She said, I know. But I get mad at them all the time for posting pictures of their kids online. I was like, do it in private, our little private family group. Okay, if someone really wants to get in there, they can, but they don't tend to try that much. But don't
Right.
post, pictures of your kids and your nieces and your nephews and your grandchildren, the little ones, online with their faces showing.
Yeah.
Especially
It's
with
dangerous.
location on.
Oh yeah.
Have
Yeah,
you guys
unless you
seen that? Do you guys even know about that? I don't know if a lot of people know, but your pictures, they have the location of where the
uh-huh.
picture was taken, the time of day, and everything else on it. And if you don't have that off when you're uploading photos, somebody who knows what they're doing can find out the exact location.
Yes. Yeah. And then the thing just the other day that, where they're claiming now they removed it, but supposedly on Instagram, Meta decided that, AI could use any of your photos to create anything they wanted to. They claim that they turned it off after 72 hours because so many people complained, but by then they already had every single photo that's out there. So who knows where we might show up, which is terrible. But it's a scary world out there, a very scary world. And the main way to protect kids from this, it's a good idea to learn the signs that the kid is being groomed or is obviously being, immersed in this stuff. There are certain signs that almost all of them show pretty consistently. And, number one is that all of a sudden they're obsessed with their devices. They start spending more time on them. If you walk in their room, they put their phone down or close their laptop, or they don't want you to see what you're doing. There's a lot of cutting and anorexia and bulimia and things like that go along with it. The kids might suddenly have expensive gifts that they show up with they can't afford. It's like, where did that come from? Oh, well, this guy or this girl, because, women do this stuff too, sent me this present because I sent a picture. Or, I'm trying to get a job and I had to talk to her. And then they can't sleep because they're so hopped up on what's on their phone, they can't sleep, or they're so nervous about who's sextorting them or extorting them or exploiting them. Every time their phone dings, they're worried that that's the predator demanding something else, like another photo, or for them to do something else, or trying to get them to hurt their younger sibling or their pet or whatever. So it's, they start acting different than they once were. A kid that was extroverted is suddenly introverted, or the other way around. Just obvious, very obvious personality changes and behavioral changes. For most of it, it's very rarely subtle, especially on the cases that I've personally worked. It wasn't subtle at all with any of them. When we finally talked to the parents, they're like, oh, I didn't know. Education. That's where I work so hard to get the word out. And, like Michelle said, it's so hard to get people to listen. I mean, how often do I post things that I'm doing workshops or I'm speaking somewhere or whatever, and one person might give it a thumbs up? It's like, oh, thanks. If I post a picture of the dog, he gets a zillion reactions. If I post a picture about something medical, that gets a ton of reactions. Or if you post a food picture, that gets a ton of reactions. Something to protect children, no one shows any interest.
Mhm. This is one of the reasons why I'm really happy that you ladies have all participated. So, because I get to see this live and in living color all the time, and it's always an honor to listen to Linda and soak in her wisdom and what she has to offer. And it's depressing also because there there's not a lot of people that want to show up. They'd rather give to a bug that's going extinct
Right?
than
It's
to deal with
true.
children, or which is as you ladies understand and know. So it's awesome to be able to have you guys soak in all of this. And this is why we did it, Michelle, because it needs to be something bigger. You ladies really, this is a dream for me, is you all really getting to know each other intimately, like I know each of you. And so you cracking yourself open, and you guys soaking in what Linda has to say, especially about this topic, because this is just one of many. But as you see, this topic is a root, and we've got to dig it out by the root. And how do we do that? We do that by raising each other's voice and coming together. And Michelle, thank you so much for making this happen, because it was we came to pick you up, and hello.
You started it.
I started it. It's all of my fault. You asked me a question, and that was about what did I, or when did I find out about it? I was watching Tucker Carlson, and he had somebody on who could find out anything he needed to know about you.
Mhm.
And so if you don't know about Tucker, he doesn't have a computer. He doesn't have a cell phone. Um, I think he has an old type phone because he doesn't ever want it to be, trackable, traceable, or whatever. So he just doesn't use any of that. Doesn't use credit cards. I mean, he's pretty careful about everything, and it's kind of funny. But this guy, in 5 minutes, was able to locate that he was a Harley driver, that he had had a Harley back in the day, that he liked guns, all his past addresses, anytime if he had a ticket or any information. And he was I mean, he showed him his social security number. He was able to get that. He got his phone number, and he said, this is just the beginning of what I can do. And then he started talking. He goes, but then there's these groups out there, because he's like, you need to know that there's these satanic groups out there that are grooming children, and they're getting the same information, and they can
Mhm.
find where the kids live. They can actually start stalking them in real life, and really, then they're not just extorting them from another country, they're actually stalking them in real life. And when I heard this, I was like, we've taken it to a totally different level.
Yeah.
And if we don't, as a society, figure out how to fix this, it's just going to keep getting worse and worse. And I agree with you. AI is not making it any easier.
No, it's making it worse. Something else that needs to be on that contract when you give the child the smartphone is that they have to agree that they will never, and when I speak out there, I'm like, never, ever, never, ever, never go out and meet someone they only know online.
Did
Because
you ever
nothing,
see that? Did you see that show? There was like a YouTube video or YouTuber, and he would talk to the parents. And he's like, you know what? I'm talking to you. He was trying to find these kids that are vulnerable, right?
yeah,
And he was trying to show parents that they're doing this. So he would talk to the kid. He was, I think he was a cop or something, because I don't know, but he would talk to the kid, and he would then contact the parents and
hmm,
say, your child is talking to me right now and is wanting to, wants to meet up with me. Let's see if they do. And
yeah,
he was in the van.
hmm. And
And he had her come up to the van. Did you see that one? And
yeah, I've
the
seen things
parents
like
were in
that.
the back seat.
Yeah. And the parents are appalled because they're like, oh my gosh, I thought you were smarter than this. How could you?
Yeah.
And, but most of the time, I have to say, most of the time when I talk to parents about things like that, they're worse than the kids. They like roll their eyes and go, well, that doesn't happen here. That's not happening to my kid. They just, it's like, it can happen to any kid. It's these people that are doing this stuff, the 764 guys, the extortion guys, the trafficking people, They are master manipulators. They know what to say. They know how to play the kid. And adults. I mean, adults fall victim to this stuff too, as do elderly people. I have a client who's in his 70s that got sextorted. And when he called me, he goes, I know you're going to laugh at me. And I was like, no, I won't. And then I started laughing before he said anything. I was like, I'm not laughing. You know, it was just like an idiot. But I mean, he knew what he did was stupid, but then he was trying to figure out, okay, now what do I do? And so that's where I was able to help him. But literally, these people that are doing this stuff, they are masters of their craft, so to speak. And you know, like you said, there is the sextortion manual that was out there. It's very hard to find now, and I have it printed out because I got it when I first started working with Million Kids. It's not that big. It's not as long as you thought it was, but it tells them exactly these are the kids to target for this, and these are the kids to target for this, and this is how much money you should ask for, and this is how you should do it. It's disgusting, but it's out there. You know, every now and then it pops up again on TikTok. I'm also anti-TikTok, by the way. I'm anti a lot of social media. I just have to be on it because, you know, I have to be on it for work.
And
but,
Snapchat.
Yeah. The Snapchat. Okay. This is where I'm like, kid, especially when I talk to kids, I go, so how long is 24 hours? And they're like, a day. I go, what's this? They're like, a millisecond. I go, that's how long it takes for those people that convinced you to send that disappearing photo to get shared or saved. And they look at me because these predators say, oh, yeah, send me the photo and send it on Snapchat. It'll just be between you and me, and it disappears. Well, it doesn't disappear for 24 hours. And it can be saved in a millisecond, shared in a millisecond. It's all over the place instantly once they have it. And the kids are like, oh, I didn't think about that part. It's like, come on, if you're I want to go like, you're not smart enough to have a smartphone if you didn't think about that. They need to know that stuff. And that's why I go out and I talk to kids too. I don't just talk to adults.
And they play dumb.
Some of them do. There's one kid, I'm going to go speak to a group in Riverside on July 30th that I'm trying to get Maria to go with me to go to. There's this one kid that's now seen me speak 4 times. And it's a mental health summit. And this kid, last time when he saw me speak, I was like, when I walked in, I was like, oh my gosh, it's so good to see you again. And he goes, I never, ever miss you or, you know, miss your presentations because there's always something new. And all the other kids are looking at him like, what's the big deal about her? And so I've gotten him now, he's comfortable. And when I'm talking, he'll actually say something, which is great because most of them just sit there staring off into space. If they are doing one of these things like sharing a nude photo, which, you know, 25% of teenage girls thinks is normal, half of them giggle or they blush. I'm like, oh, you did it. Because
you're like, you got to tell.
You've done it. I can tell. Mm-hmm. And this kid will go, oh, yeah, I know she did it. Like he totally rats him out. He's fun.
Oh, I would like having him in a class. That would be cool.
Oh, yeah, he's great because he says something and he goes, you know, I did some dumb things when I was a little bit younger. I'm in this group. He's like, I was in treatment. So, you know, but he always comes back and it's great. But most of them, they do it once. They're like, okay, well, that's over. I never have to do that again. And they probably don't remember 95% of what I say because they don't really care. They're not interested until something happens to one of their friends. And then all of a sudden it's like, why didn't I know? Why didn't anyone tell me? Someone did tell you. And parents are just as bad with that.
Yeah, I was talking to a parent and they were like, yeah, that wouldn't be anything I would post or talk about to my friends because our kids would never do it. And I'm just thinking and I'm looking at them and I'm like,
I'm trying to break into the Girl Scouts and the Boys and Girls Club. And, you know, half of them want to hear it. Half of them don't. Well, slightly more than half don't because they keep winning because we can't talk about that sad stuff.
Ignorance is bliss.
I know. Yeah, until it happens.
Yes.
There was several years ago now, almost 10 years ago, I was involved in a shooting during a rescue of a child. And when that happened, it happened local. And the girl that we were rescuing was a classmate of someone I know. And I happened to have lunch, and I didn't realize that at the time, but I had lunch with the mom and two other ladies like a week or two later, and I was talking about this incident that happened. And I said where it happened. And the one lady goes, "Oh my God, that's, my daughter's friend." And she's like, "We have to get this in the schools. We need to get you talking in her school." Okay, so even with that happening to a child at that particular school, they still would not let me go out and talk,
Yeah.
or anyone else go out and talk about what was going on.
The school wouldn't?
The school, yeah, the school. The PTA didn't want to hear it. So the school districts, some school districts are opening up a little bit. There's one that's, in the process of hiring me. Mostly to go, track down runaway foster kids, but they also use me for speaking. But Maria's gone out with me to some of those. I go and I speak to foster caregivers. And when we do that, there's a room that's the kids, and then there's the room that's the caregivers. The room with the kids might have 30 or 40 kids. My room sometimes only has one caregiver, because they don't care. They don't want to hear it. I'm thrilled if I get 10.
There were a lot last time.
There were. Yeah, that last one you went with me on was a good turnout. But that one location always has a lot. I think I had 45 at that location once. But I did ask last time, the last one that I did, Scott went with me. And the person that was in the room was someone that just started working for the school that I do these for. And so he came in to learn about it. So he wasn't even a caregiver. He was just an employee. But he was like, "I couldn't leave you in here all by yourself." I'm like, "Yeah, that would be weird for me to stand in front of the room for an hour and a half and talk to myself." But then he learned something. He's engaged, and his fiance not that long ago told him that she had been sextorted, like before they met. And he said, when she first told me, I kind of went off on her for being so stupid. And he goes, "Now I feel bad. I'm going to go home and apologize." Which was really sweet. I was like, that's really nice. And because her dad's a police officer, and he's like, "How could you do something so stupid?" And, so he said, "Yeah, I'm going to go home and apologize to her," because, he didn't realize the people that are doing this, it's not just some guy. It's someone that's trained to do this, to try to get money out of these kids, or try to get photos, or try to get them involved in the evil that 764 and their buddies do.
I just sit back and I'm just like, I can't even.
Yeah. And then Maria knows when I finish one of these things, we always say, "Go do something good for yourself."
Yeah.
Because like, go get a massage, go do something good for yourself.
This is not an easy topic to talk about.
No, it's not.
And people don't want to hear about it. Again, it's one of those topics like homelessness and domestic violence and child sexual abuse. Nobody really wants to talk about these things because, it isn't joyful. It isn't.
Right.
And there's nothing, nobody wants to look at reality in the face, because then they have to look at their own humanness.
Mm-hmm.
And it's too much, especially now with everything that is good or bad or indifferent of the world. And this is such an important topic. And so you guys coming together and making sure that it happens. I kind of want to ask, Tamara, thank you so much for joining us. What did you learn today, especially as a grandparent and as a mother of people raising babies these days? What is your perspective?
Well, I've heard it subtly mentioned that this kind of thing is going on, but during this show, I heard Linda and Michelle talk about some things that I wasn't aware of. Obviously, very concerning. I had heard about, say young girls or teens being lured, by someone saying, that they could make them a model or get them into modeling. And a lot of these girls want to do modeling, things like that. And it's really a predator, probably one of these groups that Linda was talking about. I've also heard about them using almost like catfishing, using photos of a teenage boy or teenage girl to lure them in, and the children think they're talking. Excuse me. They think they're talking to another teenager, when in fact they're talking to an old guy. Like when I say old guy, like way older, like an adult that is in one of these groups that's been groomed, like she said, for so long to be, this evil, character, portraying a teen boy that's got a crush on the girl, and then the girl or the boy goes and agrees to meet them somewhere, and then all the bad things happen. I've heard of that. I sadly had heard about, animal cruelty. That's just, how I am about animals. I love animals. I just love animals. So that just, I love children. I love all of them. But, it's just evilness. And to answer your question about how do I feel as a grandmother, a good question. That's why you guys don't see me post that often of the children in our family. Even one of the couples in our family isn't even on social media at all because of this, because they know of this and they've heard about this. Like, they've heard more than I've heard, the stories you just shared. It's so scary out there. And it's got to be scary for the parents. We grew up in a generation where we could leave the house. I walked to school. I don't know about you. My friend Susan and I walked, miles to school. And there was the occasional drop offs, too, by our parents, to sporting events and things. But, they drop us off to the skating rink or the mall, or back in the day, I'm talking about like, in the 60s, 70s, and 80s here.
Yeah.
But we stayed in groups for the most part. We know nowadays that's still the thing, right, Linda, and Michelle? But we didn't have those things, and we didn't have, well, we sure it went on, but it didn't go on like it's going on today because we didn't have the computers and that all access, to people 24/7, 365 days a year. And one of the things that surprised me was when you talked about the refrigerator. I was like, what? Okay. As you know, I come from an IT security background. And, I've thought about the devices, that are listening in your house or that allow you to have portals to, get into these homes and access whatever. But the refrigerator was one that hadn't even crossed my mind. Obviously I don't have those concerns here because I'm a grandmother, but I do know what you said to be true as well. A lot of the elderly are being targeted because they are lonely. They oftentimes, they're a widow or widower, or they want to feel loved and want to be cared for, and these people are groomed and taught how to basically lead them astray and have them believe that they're in love with them or they're going to care for them. They get them to send them money, and a lot of times these people get extorted all of this, like their savings or something, like
their life savings.
It's so sad. These people, these elders, they work their whole life. And I have watched this one show you might have heard of, Social Catfish, and I'm always just like, it's jaw dropping to me. Some of the younger people, we're talking the adults now too. It's not just the children, but I know this show is really more to focus on, protecting the children. But it's just so scary. It's happening all over the world now. And, I had people ask me, well, why are you always just posting pictures of yourself? And it's because, I can look out for myself. I come from an IT security background, like I said. And, but I'm not going to expose, like, I don't like to put all of that out there of my family, especially the children, the little ones.
Yeah, you can take pictures of the back of them. It's like one of the, just don't put their faces.
Yeah, or from the side or this or that, and I do have some family members that actually put little smiley faces, like little emojis.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah, you can do that. Yeah.
Yeah. They'll put emojis on the baby or the child or children, which is so smart, right? After hearing this, you're going to see less of my grandkids on my page. Because it's so scary, right?
You can set those photos to private so only your friends can see them. Um,
I may go do that actually tonight. I may
yeah.
actually go and I'm a guest to the show tonight. Everyone who's listening, I'm learning with you. Okay, I am learning with you because some of this I've heard of and some of it I haven't. Some of the things Michelle mentioned I hadn't heard about. And the things that Linda is out there fighting for. These kids all day long. I mean, people don't want to know. It's like they turn a blind eye to it.
Hmm.
And I think a lot of times people don't want like to join a show like this because they're afraid, well, who might see me or notice that I'm on the show or whatever, and they're scared of these groups. I think at the end of the day, we just need to educate, right? And that's what this is all about.
Hmm.
Thanks for giving me the opportunity to share my feelings about this. I'm very passionate about the protection of children, being a grandmother and a mother. And
Hmm.
I mean, they're just the most beautiful, greatest gift from God. And it makes me so sad to hear that, some of these children are falling into the predator's hands like this and being tricked or coerced or what was the thing you said? Told to kill themselves? What?
Oh
This
yeah.
is something I hadn't heard of.
They have been,
What?
yeah. There's a very famous sextortion case, one of the first ones that came out publicly. The young man's name was Jordan DeMay. So if you Google Jordan DeMay,
Mhm.
um, he was the quarterback on his football team and the homecoming king, and it's this great kid. And he thought he was talking to a girl online, and it ended up it was really three men from Nigeria, and they have been two out of three of them have been extradited to the United States and are in prison.
Oh
And
my gosh.
once they got convicted, then the court file was opened up, and there's screenshots that are of the conversation, um, where these guys literally, I mean, like just boom, boom, boom. They're like, "Oh, you're not going to give me $3,000? Well, you might as well just kill yourself. Are you going to pay me or are you going to die? What are you going to do?" Like that fast. It's like boom, 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 boom. This poor kid, and it was like hundreds of messages like that. And it's like you might as well kill yourself just right now because your life is over. And I thought, this poor kid. And I was on
Jeez.
yeah, I was on a workshop that his parents and then the parents of four other victims of sextortion were on, and just their stories. I mean, I talked to all of them afterwards because I was like, okay, three of them I was already using their kids' stories in my presentations because it's, from the news. And their stories are just heartbreaking. One of them, it was only 3 hours from the first contact to when the kid committed suicide. In
Oh my
another
gosh.
one, he got over 1,000 messages in a 24-hour time period.
Mm.
Can you imagine? Just,
Oh, it's tormenting these kids,
yeah, they
tormenting
are.
them.
Yeah. And then there was another one
Why
that
aren't
went
they
on.
blocking?
Well, because they don't know. And if they do block, a lot of times when they do block, the predator just contacts them instantly from another username and they get inundated with it. The one that got the 1,000, I think it was from 16 different usernames, but they all were tracked back to the same group.
Person or group.
Yeah. And then there was one that went on for a whole year and the kid never said anything to anybody. And that one just kills me because that poor young man for a whole year was dealing with that and didn't say anything.
I hadn't also heard about the one you shared about the parents, like teaching them or to harm their own parents.
Oh yeah, that's a chatbot thing. That's an
What?
AI thing. Yeah.
It's a chatbot. Explain to us, if you will, please, a chatbot. What do you mean by
Well, a
chatbot?
chatbot, like if you use like Chat GPT or you have your own special chat
Hmm.
person, it's a
Yes.
chatbot. I mean, that's what
Oh,
it is. Yeah. And so these kids, some of them have, developed relationships with their chatbots and they're not thinking, it used to be they'd be like, "Oh, it's online, it's all fake, I'm safe." And now they're like, "Oh, wait, no. That's really the love of my life I'm talking to on the other end." Kind of making
the
that simplistic,
chatbot.
but
Is the chatbot people or a person behind it, or is it actually an AI
it's
thing?
an AI thing. Those
It
are AI
is.
things. Yeah.
Oh gosh. Okay. Thanks for explaining that. I asked those
Cameron, think of
questions.
it like this. So
Yeah.
ChatGPT, every single conversation you have is its own personal chatbot. So chat
And
remembers a lot of stuff that you
hmm
can have in between different scenarios and conversations and everything. But like,
hmm
I'll give you an example. I have one chat that I have with ChatGPT that I had when chat was able to tell you anything you needed, anything you wanted to know. And
Mhm.
so we've gone down a huge rabbit hole in the Bible and like all the way through and Adam and Eve and going back even further, right? So
Mhm.
that particular chat, I can get completely 1,000,000% different answers than I can on any other chat. So I've created a chat bot that will answer me not based on its new rules.
Okay. Wow.
You
I
didn't.
don't have any chatbots that I communicate with.
Did you name it?
Yeah, does your chatbot have a name?
Okay, good.
Some people name their little chat
They do.
buddies.
That's all I'm going to say. They do. It's a little weird, but
It
anyway.
is a little weird. Yeah.
You know, I want to say thank you to Kate because she had surgery 2 days ago, and so she has hung out with us and real quick, Kate, as a mother of so many, and you hearing about all of this, I don't think you knew much about it before you joined us today. So if you would unmute yourself, I sure would love to hear what you have to say about what you've heard. And I know you've been tired, and thank you so much
Yeah.
for joining us today.
I didn't know about 764. I knew about sextortion. I think OnlyFans is a big culprit in the normalizing of naked pictures, and every girl thinks she can go out there and make money with an OnlyFans. I mean, it's
Absolutely.
really tragic, and they have no
Mhm.
sense of self-worth or dignity. They just think that's normal, and every girl should do it. And there's just so much pressure out there. Um, my granddaughter, my oldest granddaughter is 18. She didn't get a phone until she was 17, although she did have a tablet for school and she would message me from there. But her mom kept her pretty isolated in some ways. You can only, do so much though. So when my kids were growing up, my youngest is 26, and this stuff didn't really exist. They had cell phones because I couldn't keep, there were so many of them. I was a single mom with 9 kids. I couldn't keep track of them without cell phones because
Right.
they had to walk home from school. I was working, and now it's just terrible. But yeah, they did. There were times when they went to the Boys and Girls Club, which was a lot safer than walking home from school in Costa Mesa. So, and I was thinking back when I was in kindergarten, I walked to school, and I remember
Mhm.
getting lost and not knowing where I was. And
Yeah.
it was the scariest moment of my little 5-year-old life. But thank God it was safer back then. It wasn't
Mhm.
necessarily safe, but it's just a proliferation of pornography has encouraged a lot of this and made it just seem commonplace. And I'm really grateful I'm not raising kids. Now, my 3 younger granddaughters are like 9, 11, and 14, I think. And they live on a ranch. They're nowhere near civilization. They raise
Good.
cows and chickens and goats and horses, and they have no electronics at all. They don't need them. So they're safe for
Good.
now. Hopefully they'll
Yeah.
stay that way. Yeah. It's just an ugly world out there. So I've got that gap between my adult kids and my grandkids. And I don't know, it's pretty sad. But
Yeah.
Mhm.
Well,
yeah,
thank you for being here because, yeah, I
sure.
know you've had quite a week so far. Yeah.
Yeah. Well,
And Tamara, thank you too, because you're not used to hearing these things either. So, Michelle deep dived. I did. I am immersed in this every single day.
Mhm.
Not that that makes it easier, but it's not as shocking. Although
Right.
every now and then we have a group that emails every day, affiliated with Million Kids. And every now and then Opal, who is the founder of Million Kids, will send out email and she'll, oh my gosh, this one knocked me off my feet. So it's like, there'll be some new shocking thing that, pops up with, the evil that people do.
well, it's demonic, and so much of it
Mm-hmm.
is spiritual, and it's principalities and powers. And
Yeah.
yeah,
I
yeah,
keep
you
hearing
can,
we have to break the bonds.
Mm-hmm.
yeah.
Yeah.
I'm not
Which
exactly sure what that means, but I
I
just
was
keep
gonna
hearing
say, what
break
does
the
that
I know.
mean,
bonds.
How,
Michelle?
yeah. What bonds and how do we do it?
Well,
Because
no,
let's
like it's
go.
a spiritual
Yeah.
bond, like that's
Right.
holding these
Yeah.
children captive.
Yeah.
And it's prayer that's going to break it.
Right.
We've got to break the bond.
And,
Now,
yeah.
how? What
Yeah.
prayer?
I
Okay.
know. Right.
And this is why we're together today, to figure out what is the action item, really? What is the
Yeah.
action from this point forward? Raising your voice and keeping your voice alive, Linda, that's always really important. That's why
Hmm.
so important. That's why we're documenting it. We made it a stop on the tour because it is that important, Michelle. So your idea was that brilliant because it has to have a voice and it has to be amplified. And so when you girls all come together and you really start to see what tools you have in your toolbox, this is the goal. Let's get Linda to Atlanta. Okay, let's figure out how we're going to spread her voice and what. And since we're so close to it, in Atlanta, the Michelle's just going to have to come from Florida, and
If
Kate's
I can go to Atlanta, Michelle can go to Atlanta.
God has something going on with Kate, and it's just a matter of time before you guys start to hear everything that God's doing with Kate. So it's just, this is why we're doing this, because this information needs to get out. Different perspectives need to hear it. They need
Mhm.
to. And I'm sorry, it is like taking Pepto-Bismol. Okay, your stomach is gonna hurt, and it's gross, and it's chalky, and it doesn't taste good. Okay, and but what's really great is when we all come together, and I see it all on screen right now with your beautiful faces. I'm the only one who has picture, right? Okay, but that's how God has it. I love working the background because I see the power that God has in each of you. And Linda, what you need to share is as difficult as it is to get down. And that's what God's showing me. It's like, isn't that Pepto Bismol, the white stuff?
Oh, that's something else.
Milk of
Pepto
magnesia.
Bismol is pink. Yeah, milk
Okay.
and magnesia. Yeah. Ugh. Ugh.
That's yes. Okay,
Whew.
that's this information is like forcing people to take that.
Right.
But they're going to feel so much better because they have no idea how sick they are.
Right. They have no
So,
idea how sick the world is. Yeah.
exactly,
Yeah.
exactly. So, that's why this was important. That's why I think we needed to make it big, and let's keep it going, because what's the action item? And Kate, you're going to close us out in prayer, and your prayer is going to be what we continue to pray daily in order to make sure that this voice is amplified, and that we all continue to work together to make sure that God has given each of you ladies gifts and talents, and wow. Okay. Wow. And we have all of the United States and North America to make this happen. So it's my goal. I wish Bobby could have been here from Greece, because one of the main guys is from Greece, right? That got put away for this.
Hmm.
Okay,
Yeah.
this is happening worldwide. Okay.
Yes.
So, your voice needs to get out there. It needs to be amplified. And so anyway, close it out, and then Kate's going to close you in prayer. But thank you, ladies, for joining us today. And again, this is why God has brought us together, because you guys are all a force to promote action. So you are four ambassadors that just bless my heart so much. And your heart and your soul is in it. Okay. And we're in it because if we don't help this next generation, we're in trouble, man. Okay.
Hmm.
We are in trouble. So,
Mhm.
anyway, take it away, Linda.
I'm not sure what else I'm supposed to say. So, have a call to action. Um, that's a good question. We just need to keep getting the word out. That's, I always say, anyone that, anyone that's willing to listen, I will do a workshop. It doesn't matter where it is. I will do it via Zoom. I will do it at 4 in the morning. I did one not long ago at 4 in the morning for a group, because that was when it worked for them. So we just need to keep working on getting the word out on this to protect our kids and grandkids. And
Mhm.
then I throw in the elderly too, because, they're covered by a lot of this too. So people are people. Yeah.
Michelle, what did you like to share?
I think that we've talked about pretty much all of it. The biggest action item I can see is just getting this out to people, what we've talked about, maybe narrowing it down a little bit, pulling some of the bigger parts out and putting it into a video would be good. And then just blanketing everywhere we can, all the different groups, parent groups, all of that. Yes, they might not want to hear it, but it needs to be said.
And something that's coming to my head right now, and I think Tamara, you'll know, and Kate, you'll know, working in corporate America, that they always bring in speakers to speak about things, especially about home life or things that are happening in reality. And that's in corporate America. And that's something that is done through the HR departments. And so, this is a great topic and a great um way to get your voice even deeper, because they have to hire you.
They
Okay.
do.
They
They
do.
do.
Okay, it's true. That's what
Yeah.
God's bringing to my attention right now. And so, that would be a perfect way, or a great action item, to see if we can get it into corporate America
Yeah.
through HR departments. Okay. It just
That's a good idea.
yeah,
Yeah.
Parker right here has how many offices, and you would go into each of the buildings in Orange County, California, and that's just in Parker Hannifin Corporation.
Mhm.
They have to do it. So I can see Tamara's brain; she's working. I can see.
And there's another idea too. I'm guesting on a TV show tomorrow. She calls it a TV show. It's a podcast, but anyway, that's all about health and wellness. And she goes, she likes me, so she was like, "How am I going to get you in here?" Well, this will be my sixth time being
Okay.
on her show because the wellness of the family often depends on the safety of the children. That's the way we put it. So I talk different things every time, but it's all the same bottom line is keeping kids safe. So
Hmm.
the health and wellness area too, because you don't want to be all stressed out, worried about your kids and how you're going to keep your kids safe. Learn how to do it.
Do you
Yeah.
know,
So
um,
go.
I'd like to add something. Yes, my cogs were turning. You were right. You can read my face expressions. I really think we need to look at the county level, even before an HR, because you've got your county chamber of commerce. Okay. And the Chamber of Commerce does these periodic meetup groups where you have all kinds of business people from all kinds of corporations that come. And then, I want to talk to you guys about that idea later. I've got an idea there that would get it into corporations, but a little bit more like through the community, through
Mhm.
the Chamber of Commerce.
Yeah, I'm a chamber
Because
person.
I love the chamber, and and
Yeah.
the chamber is a great networking area for us to network this program. I think
Mhm.
HR is a great idea too, right? But a lot of HRs, from a corporate perspective nowadays, have so many policies about, what they'll
Yeah.
allow and what they won't allow.
I'm sure that having me there would be stressful for a lot of different people. I
Yeah,
Exactly.
come from my originally when I first started working as an investigator, all we did was workers' comp. And all I could think is, I'm going to go speak at some company and 10 people are going to file workers' comp claims for stress. Like I was forced to sit through this thing, this lady talking about all these evil things that happen to kids.
Oh my gosh. Well,
I I also want to add one more thing too, is something I've noticed, when I've watched some of these type, social catfishing, catfish type shows, which talks about, one aspect only of this, right? Or an aspect of this. Um, a lot of times just people like you and I, just the community across America or around the world will blame the person, and they'll say, well, that was stupid. Everybody knows not to, blah, blah, blah. Well, you'd be surprised. Um, Young people can be naive because they don't have the education about what's really happening, right? Or they don't
Hmm.
know what's really happening to them. And the elderly, too, because the elderly, come from a generation where, like we said before, right? Our generation, right, Maria? Where there was a trust, there was more of a community
Right.
trust. And we have to remember that those elders come from a whole different world that we used to live in, and the world
Yeah.
is not the same.
Right. Right.
The
Yeah.
rules have
I
changed.
never blame the victim. Yeah.
Yeah, I
It's
don't
like
like that when I see
these
that when
people that
people
do
get
these things
on.
are master manipulators. I
Right. And
always
I
say they
feel
know.
I feel so bad when I see people, commenting under the post on social media and then start berating
Mm-hmm.
that sweet person that was taken advantage of. And it's like,
Right.
well, wait a minute. You're really being hard on that person. That person maybe didn't have all the right information or tools. Otherwise, they wouldn't have gotten themselves into that
I
situation.
want you to think about something, and this is a really good point and a great way to close this is you bring that to our attention, and that's so important, Tamara. And this is the reason why these kids are killing themselves. Okay, because they don't have the wisdom to stop and think that's really mean to say something to somebody, you see that
Mm-hmm.
and they are just going ahead, and because they do not have the wisdom and the age behind them, because look at, you're talking about adults doing this to other
Mhm.
adults,
Yeah.
right?
Mm-hmm.
And they have the
Yeah.
common sense to stop and think, okay, no, you're not going to abuse me that way. But these kids that are being perpetrated online and victimized online, that this is why it's happening. This is
Mm-hmm.
why so much of it is going into the direction of the demonic and killing themselves and getting, you know, putting those terrible things that Michelle said, where they're, writing stuff into themselves and then taking the blood, and they're doing,
It's
because again, if adults are doing this into people online, this is how bad it is for kids, and this is why it's happening, and this is why it's so important. And again, thank you, Linda, for hosting, this on the Heart and Soul Tour. We've
Mm-hmm.
done another one, and we virtually have closed it out. And so thank you so much, Tamara. Thank you for joining us. Now you understand what it is that we do. And this is pretty
yeah.
much do live in person. And it's ironic that Linda has kind of been in charge of January 11th, which was Human Trafficking Awareness Day, and you brought attention to that. And then we did the follow up on April 4th, the in person, and now we're not doing another in person until September. So thank you for making this happen, Michelle, and for bringing it up when we took you to the airport. You and Linda jumping on it, and it's just we've got to make sure that each generation, because each of us are in a different generation, and then we're raising
Mhm.
kids and grandkids that are in another completely different generation, and it's just
Mhm.
so crazy. So anyway, thank you, the three of you, Tamara, and now Kate. Again, it was a gift to have you here. Thank you so much. I know you're tired, but
Mm-hmm.
I know that the Lord has brought you here, and you're going to teach us what to pray, how to pray, and how to amplify the voices, so those who need to hear what we have to say are open for it to happen. So if you can put that in the prayer and make sure that God, because you're the prayer warrior, and I'm blessed to have you here. So thank you so much. And again, thank you, ladies. Kate.
Father, thank you for what you've been showing us. We all lift up Linda to you. We agree in Jesus' name that you're going to renew her strength, give her even more wisdom and insight, show her things that maybe she couldn't see before. But I just pray, Lord, that you would increase her spiritual authority over the demonic principalities behind this evil towards children and young adults, Lord. And we bind those principalities, Lord. Thank you that you've made her a mighty soldier in your army to fight this evil. I pray you'd expand her reach and her message, that you'd open new doors of opportunity and income for her, because it takes income to do this for a living, Lord. We plead the blood of Jesus over Linda for her protection. And we just ask you protect all of our children in this nation, Lord. And not just here, but around the world. But it's got to start at home. And We bind the enemy. We cancel this assignment against our children. And we ask you, Lord, to bring it to an end. I don't know enough about the spiritual realm, but I do know that there are demonic principalities, very powerful ones behind this evil. And we ask you, Lord, to show us the way to end it. We take authority, the authority that we have. You said if we bind things on earth, they're bound in heaven. If we loose things on earth, they're loose in heaven. So we bind these principalities and powers and ask you to render them powerless, Lord. Expose them. The more there's exposure, the less power they have to shame people and to manipulate them into harm. So, Father, we ask that your will would be done, that this message would get out, that it would spread. Again, just expand Linda's reach and open new doors for her to get the message out. That I pray it would just catch on like wildfire, that our children are in danger and there's ways to protect them, Lord. So bless everything she does, Father. And Michelle as well, Lord. Continue to expand her reach as well, Father, and her message to young people and children, Lord, and their parents. And yeah, open the parents and grandparents' hearts to hear the message, Father. We put this in your hands and we ask you to continue to propel it forward, Lord, with power and authority in Jesus' name.
In Jesus' name.
And amen. So, Linda, the gift is this song. When guys said, what do you want me to, how do we close it? And God said, it's all has to do with being behind the screens. And at first we started with, it's the enemy that's behind the screens. But you being the example of a warrior that is behind the screens, that's how the song ends. So ladies, I hope you enjoy and I hope this works.
He was 10 with a backpack, too big, home by 3 and a quick goodbye. Thumb on the glass, little world in his hand. New friends came calling from the other side. A game room glow, a name he knew, a laughing face that said you fit right in. First it was jokes and a couple of stars, then late night chats that pulled him in. And nobody saw it, the signs were small, just a little more secret, a little less tall. Behind the screens, that's where they hide, that's where they lead. Behind the screens, they wear a smile and steal your dreams. Now the phone stayed lit under the sheets, a half her text and a changed up tone. He stopped saying names, stopped saying where. He started feeling less at home. The compliments came like a sweet disguise. You're the only one who gets me now. Private messages, quiet rules. Don't tell him yet, don't let him down. Like nobody knew what was closing in. The room got smaller, the lies got thin. Behind the screens, that's where they hide, that's where they lead. Behind the screens, they wear a smile and steal your dreams. Behind the screens, stay close, stay wise, stay brave, stay seen. Behind the screens, love tells the truth and changes the Then his mother sat on the edge of the bed and said, baby, look at me. You don't have to carry this alone. You can always come to me. One shaky breath, one broken I'm scared. Then the words came out at last. The door swung open, the dark lost ground, and the fear was forced to pass. Behind the screens, they're still alive, they're still a team. Behind the screens, awareness speaks and breaks the scheme. Behind the screens,
Thank you, everybody.
Bye.
Thank you.
Mhm. Tamara, thank you for hanging out for the whole thing. I appreciate
You're
it.
so welcome. It was educational for me as well.
Yeah, good.
None of us knew it all.
No, absolutely not.
So
That's
much going
true.
on, you know,
Yeah.
and there's always something new to learn. And I'm so glad that this is being done. And hopefully we can get out to the masses of